NC Pork. Good for the plate, great for the state.
As always, we begin with a fun fact from the football universe, and you're going to love this one. The great state of North Carolina has risen all the way to number 5 among our 50 states on the list of the National Football League's most productive high school talent pipelines when such things are measured by state. For as long as I've been covering this stuff, and I mean going all the way back to the late 1980s, the top 4 states on this list have not changed. And I mean for 4 decades. Sometimes the order has changed, but it has been the same 4 states every time, the best talent pipelines: Texas, Florida, California, and Georgia. I'm serious. It was those 4 in the late 80s. It's still those 4 here in 2025. Now, this year, the North Carolina high school football pipeline ranks number 5 in terms of producing the most NFL players as measured by opening week rosters. And that is a much needed positive sign about the gridiron culture in our state, especially as so many of our in-state college football programs have been, to be frank, mostly mediocre or even worse in recent times. Now, it's always important to point out in these conversations that pure demographics, just sheer population numbers, explain much of this stuff. For example, the only 3 states in our great nation with more than 20 million people each are California, Texas, and Florida. Now, it does definitely help that high school football has, to varying degrees, become so ingrained in the culture of those 3 huge states, which all have warm climates and now multiple generations of passion for the sport of football. But it starts with those ginormous population numbers. That's also part of why it is so exciting, in my eyes, to see North Carolina rise all the way up to number 5 on this list. Yes, like Georgia, we are one of the 10 most populous states in our country, with an estimated population of this point at, let's call it, roughly 11 million people here in North Carolina. But right now, Georgia and North Carolina are both producing far more NFL caliber players than every other state with a similar population number, and that cannot possibly be a bad sign. In case you're wondering about the specific numbers, and if you lose them here in the audio video world, I am writing about this at ncsportsnetwork.com. During the opening week of this current NFL season, there were 199 guys who had played their high school football in Texas. There were 179 high school ball in Florida, 143 in California, 143 in Georgia, and number 5 was North Carolina with 70. Now, again, in the 39 years I've been doing this, I have rarely, if ever, seen North Carolina this high on this list, and that provides at least some room for the hope that one or more FBS programs in our state can become more relevant on the national scene at some point, given, again, the talent pipeline here in North Carolina. You got to sign a nice chunk of those guys to make that happen, but at least it's a possibility. For comparison, remember that very famous football states such as Louisiana, Ohio, Michigan, and Alabama, I've heard they have some pretty good college football programs. Those states have all produced far fewer current NFL players than what our North Carolina high school football programs have produced for this ongoing 2025 season. One quick side note on this topic: the bold North State also is represented on the list of the 5 American cities whose high school ranks produced the most opening week NFL players this season. Charlotte ranked 5th with 14 such players. That number includes, among others, New England Patriots quarterback Drake Maye, who starred at Myers Park High School in the Queen City before developing, of course, into the ACC Player of the Year and the number 3 overall draft pick during his time at the University of North Carolina. The only U.S. cities whose high school ranks produced more current NFL players were Bradenton, Florida, Atlanta, Miami, and Detroit. Bradenton, by the way, should get an asterisk of some kind because a bunch of kids moved to that relatively small city in the Sunshine State from all over the country just to attend IMG Academy, which is just an athletics powerhouse. That does skew the numbers quite a bit. Regardless, for Charlotte to be listed alongside legendary football hotbeds such as Atlanta and Miami is an absolutely wonderful sign for the future of football in our state.
For our veterans, the end of their service is just the beginning. It may come with new careers and new chaos. There might be late nights, school drops, and even haircuts. That's where we come in, providing more than $1 million a year in career-building scholarship funds and discounts on every haircut for our veterans. Just trying to do our part to make their lives a little easier. SportClips Haircuts, supporting veterans everywhere.
Now, on to this week's shoutouts with a similar theme in mind, as believe it or not, every single conference championship game worth watching this week will include one or more high-profile players who are products of the North Carolina high school ranks. And yes, we're proud about that. Shout out in the Big Ten championship game, the one that 10 million plus probably will be watching, to Indiana safety Devin Boykin and Ohio State defensive end Bo Atkinson, who both previously played both high school football and college football here in the bold North State. In that monumental collision between 12-0 Ohio State and 12-0 Indiana on Saturday night, Boykin will be starting in the secondary for the Hoosiers, and Atkinson will be one of the first defensive players off the bench for the Buckeyes. A sixth-year senior, Boykin spent 5 seasons at NC State and earned his diploma during his time in Raleigh. He appeared in 45 games for the Wolfpack, 20 starts, after starring at Ragsdale High School in Jamestown, North Carolina, where he actually played for his father, Coach Johnny Boykin. Coming off a knee injury that caused him to miss last season, Devin quickly earned a starting safety role at Indiana, and he was the Hoosiers' 5th leading tackler during the regular season. His biggest plays this year included a 32-yard fumble recovery for a touchdown against Maryland, plus interceptions against UCLA and Wisconsin. Bo Atkinson, 6'6", 258 pounds, redshirt junior. He's more of a situational player for Ohio State at defensive end. 3 years at UNC, including a redshirt campaign. He had 11 sacks in 26 games for the Tar Heels, mostly in a backup capacity. He previously starred at Leesville Road High School here in Raleigh. Shout out in the Southeastern Conference title game to Georgia safety Kyron Jones as the 11-1 Bulldogs take on 10-2 Alabama in Atlanta late Saturday afternoon. A North Carolina high school product, Jones has had an extraordinary rise during his time with the Bulldogs over these past 3 years. He's a proud product of Charlotte Christian School, and he redshirted at Georgia in 2023, served as an important second-team player and special teams guy in 2024, and then he earned a starting position this season as a redshirt sophomore, which is a heck of an accomplishment given the Georgia Bulldogs' incredibly deep and talented roster. After starting Georgia's first 6 games this season, and he posted 10 tackles against Tennessee, 7 against Alabama, Jones did suffer a foot injury, and he has not played since. But Coach Kirby Smart has repeatedly mentioned that he hopes Jones can return from his injury at some point this season. Maybe we'll see on Saturday. During his time at Charlotte Christian, by the way, where he was more well-known as a running back, Jones led the Knights to a 10-3 season and the state championship game as a senior on the gridiron. He also was a 2-time state champion in track and field while setting the state and school records in the 100-meter dash. Shout out in the Big 12 championship game to Texas Tech tight end John Carlos Miller II as the 11-1 Red Raiders battle 11-1 BYU in Texas on Saturday afternoon. Miller starred at powerhouse Dudley High School in Greensboro at the high school level and became an FCS star at Elon University before transferring to Texas Tech prior to last season. At Elon, Miller redshirted in 2021, starter in 2022, and then he earned first-team all-conference honors with the Phoenix in 2023. At that point, The 6'5", 240-pound tight end made the jump to Texas Tech, and he has become a regular starter for the Red Raiders. Over these past 2 seasons in Lubbock, he has 19 catches for 199 yards and 3 touchdowns, and is often used in a blocking capacity, of course. Shout out in the American Conference Championship game. 3 extremely important players who came through the North Carolina high school ranks and will be expected to play important roles on Friday night as 11-1 North Texas visits 10-2 Tulane. Tulane actually has 2 starters, one on offense, one on defense, who both became stars at Shelby High School right here in North Carolina, and who both played last season at Appalachian State. The Green Wave's starting center is 6'4", 300-pound, 5th-year senior Jack Hollifield, who spent 3 seasons in the ACC at Virginia Tech before becoming a second-team All-Sun Belt player during his one and only season with the App State Mountaineers. That was in 2024. Also starting for the Green Wave at defensive tackle is redshirt junior Santana Hopper, who developed into a first-team All-Sun Belt performer last year, the last of his 3 seasons in Boone. Hollifield and especially Hopper are considered extremely strong candidates to earn postseason honors in the American Conference this year. At North Texas, meanwhile, one of the starting linebackers is a 6th-year senior named Shane Witter, who became a high school superstar at Williams High in Burlington, North Carolina. Spent 4 seasons with the Oklahoma Sooners, mostly as a backup and a special teams guy, and then he transferred to North Texas prior to last season. Witter has become a full-time starter, and he's now the team's 5th leading tackler here in 2025. Last but not least, shout out in the ACC championship game to a slew of players who will be on the field in Charlotte on Saturday night. As you might expect, the Virginia-Duke matchup will be overflowing with important contributors who came through the North Carolina high school ranks on their way to the ACC. For Virginia, I'll just give you the number 1 example, and I mean by far, it is 6th-year senior running back Jamari Taylor. We mentioned him earlier during our game preview. He is a product of West Mecklenburg High School in Charlotte. He is a first-team All-ACC guy who just led the league in rushing during the regular season, and that's in his one and only year with the Cavaliers. During the Wahoo's 10-2 regular season, Taylor carried the ball 207 times for 997 rushing yards. That was best in the ACC. He scored 14 touchdowns. That was second best in the conference. He added 39 catches for 219 more yards. Taylor previously, remember, spent those 5 years at NC Central University in Durham, where he went from walk-on to superstar for Coach Trey Oliver. As a redshirt junior in 2024, last year, he compiled more than 1,000 rushing yards for the Eagles, ranking with 1146 was the final number, the 4th best single-season total in program history. With that performance, he was first-team All-MEAC, of course. He was also a finalist for the Walter Payton Award, which honors the top player in the entire FCS ranks. Duke, meanwhile, has more than a dozen key players from North Carolina. I won't get to them all, but the list starts with Vincent Anthony Jr., Trey Freeman, Aaron Hall, and Todd Polino. All those guys have started multiple seasons during their time with the Blue Devils after, again, being high school stars here in the bold North State. Anthony's a senior defensive end, 3-year starter, Jordan High School right there in Durham. Freeman, 5th-year senior linebacker, another 3-year starter, Northern High School right there in Durham. Hall, 5th-year senior defensive tackle, 2-year starter. Southern School of Energy and Sustainability right there in Durham, where, of course, Duke is located. Polino, senior place kicker, 4-year starter. He's from Cannon School near Charlotte. The longer list at Duke includes wide receiver Quayshawn Brown, the bruising second-team running back Anderson Castle, formerly of App State, Rover Deshaun Stone, and an injured All-ACC caliber safety Terry Moore. Brown's a redshirt sophomore from East Forsyth High School in Winston-Salem. Castle, the App State transfer, Watauga High School right there in Boone. Stone, Reynolds High School in Asheville. Moore, Washington High in the eastern part of our state. I mean, the Blue Devils recruited all of those guys from our high school ranks, and that's pretty much from the Atlantic Ocean to the Tennessee-style mountains. Well done job by Mike Elko years ago, but also Manny Diaz. So congratulations and best wishes to all of those North Carolina high school products as they play in all of those big games here during championship week. I am David Glenn, and those are my fun facts and shout-outs as we head to Charlotte for Saturday night's Duke UVA ACC championship game matchup with our Old North State tailgate and traveling sports circus right here on the North Carolina Sports Network.
This has been Bold North State Football Daily, an exclusive presentation of the North Carolina Sports Network. Make sure you follow us on social media at the NC Sports Net, and check out our website that is wall-to-wall coverage of North Carolina sports at ncsportsnetwork.com. Our foundational partner is the North Carolina Pork Council, raising the bacon, raising the bar. Telling the stories of the bold North State, this is the North Carolina Sports Network.